Here.
Right, so
now, for the video, we could see it. All right, cool.
All right.
Everything's rolling?
Yeah, everything's rolling.
All right.
Check.
So it's Andrew, right?
Abraham.
You
guys call me.
Yeah, these guys just met.
Hey, all right.
Andre.
Yeah.
Andre 3000.
How did I not hear Abraham?
Can I just call you 3000?
Yeah, you can go.
I think he's dropping.
2,000, 2.5. We go for that. And then Johnny.
All right, sorry, I gotta turn my headphones back up. There we go.
Yeah,
check,
I'm
check,
sure
check.
all of this is not going to get used.
All right.
Yeah, we'll just chop it up.
All right, cool. Check. We're going. All right, so I guess I can introduce you guys.
Mm-hmm.
For everybody who doesn't know, this is my homie AMF. I met AMF through an artist I was recording. You guys are good friends.
Yeah.
We kind of got close over the last couple of years, and you're now a newfound film shooter.
Right, man. Inspired by someone in this room.
Cool.
So, yeah. Which is fucking amazing.
Who's that?
You, obviously. Fuck. So, like, you just needed his ego stroke really
You want to switch
fast.
spots with me? You want to sit over
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
I'll sit between you guys.
Oh, man.
That'd be a funny podcast.
I actually just developed, as you know, I developed my first role today.
Dude, congratulations.
Thank you, bro.
I'm glad you didn't fuck it up.
Oh, man. So,
I fucked my first 10 rolls up.
Well, I told you I like overdeveloped a little bit. Like the time, I went over the time a little bit. I kind of saw technical stuff nobody cares about, but I definitely experimented a little bit. You helped a lot. I didn't want to say it in the group, but
why?
Wow, I don't know.
You can't give me a little bit.
I can if you fucking care, but
thanks Johnny for helping me.
Yeah, it was
so
really you
knows.
saying fucking. You know why I didn't say it though? I'm sure you'll hear it later.
Because people don't like me in that group.
No,
I knew it.
Nah, because Carl and Gus gave me advice, but your advice was the one that made me comfortable, and that's what it was. It was you said that it's not exactly a silence. You can go a little over, you can go a little under, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
that's what I need to hear. I need to hear was making spaghetti.
Fine.
You know.
It all comes out fine. What you end up fucking up on is if you don't. What I fucked up on a lot is obviously the reels.
Yeah.
And the film reels. I fuck that up all the time. Another one is I didn't pour enough chemicals in sometimes, so it wouldn't cover the whole film.
Okay.
So now I just over pour until it's almost flowing out.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Anyways, cool.
Boom.
Yeah,
Amen.
it's not about photography. Abe, I've known you. You're a plaza rat here. We're in my studio that's located in an Asian plaza. That's actually it's a fucking desert.
Thank you for the invite and calling me a rat. Great way to start off this one.
I'm part of the rats.
I know. Rats. I mean, you're the king rat here, so I must be the minion.
Anyways, so we're actually in a Chinese plaza that's been pretty deserted.
Ground zero.
Yeah, ground. And I guess Abe's here to explain to us why it's deserted.
Why this is ground zero?
I'm definitely not a doctor. I do not have any credentials. After the conversation we had on the phone this morning, I mean, I just ran down here and we just met, about 5 minutes ago?
Yeah,
so
we shook hands.
The reason why I invited AMF is because I needed somebody to contend with Abe that somewhat has also done a bit of research where I don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
Let me quick background. I have been dealing with a lot of crazy just worry from my family. My dad every day is reminding me about the virus, watch out, and I'm just kind of I've dismissed it. I've been very dismissive.
Mm-hmm.
And Taylor and I plan to go to Disneyland tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. And after talking to Abe, I'm super freaked out now. And we're about to cancel our trip basically because the smart thing is to not go possibly. But we decided to do this podcast because I think we want to kind of give everybody who is in my shoes that's a little unsure about it and maybe being a little more reckless about the way they're going about, dealing with the virus. And then also perspective of AMS, who's you're a little bit more it's kind of not that big of a deal.
You see how I am. I'm out here, bro.
No, I know.
Yeah, and I'm so confident of not I'm not gonna say not getting sick, of just not dying.
But that's how you've been your whole life. I don't get sick because I don't want to get sick, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you're treating the virus. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna be confident and positive and know that nothing's gonna get to me. Therefore, it won't.
Which is actually a big deal. We can get into that later. I mean, all right, fuck it. So, I don't know if you've ever heard of Bruce Lipton, right? Anybody? Nah. So Bruce Lipton is this like white scientist dude, really cool. Definitely has like some alternative thinking. Isn't as respected as he was in the scientific community because of his alternative thinking. But basically, he's kind of like, so I'm sure y'all both know what a placebo effect is, yeah?
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
So there's this thing called the nocebo effect, too, that I think he said himself. I don't think that was a word until he said it. But basically, he talks about the fact that you don't actually need medicine. You could believe that you're better and be better. Believe this won't happen and it won't. And it sounds like almost like some like Zen stuff.
A little woo-woo.
A little what?
Woo-woo.
Woo-woo? Yeah. Maybe. I mean, it's something that I believe in for sure. Because the power of the mind is a big deal, bro. You can think something, feel sick. You know how many people tell me, because my job...
No, the placebo effect is absolutely accepted in the medical field, right? They use it to
which is the reason
drugs.
why they... Exactly. But it's just the fact of, well, he's saying it doesn't have to do with the pill. The sugar, you do actually feel... This is him, not me. I'm not making this up. He's saying that it's not the pill, like, it's not that the people didn't feel better from taking a fake pill. It's that their brain made them better. They were actually sick. Their brain overpowered their sickness because they believed this false thing had a real impact. So if you believe you're going to heal, you'll heal.
Yeah.
That's kind of what his thing is. And there's a lot more to it, of course, read his book or whatever it is.
Those are curable sicknesses. I think we're about to talk about something that right now does not have a cure. Right?
I have a lot of alternative thoughts.
Category? All right, let's give Abe the floor. How about you ask Abe something about what you want to know?
Well, I mean, I'm here, right? So the biggest thing is, I'm here because Johnny was worried. Why? What did you say to this man to make him so concerned
that I was going to Disneyland?
Well, first of all, it doesn't take much to scare Johnny. He's a little scaredy cat sometimes. With
Okay, all right.
But, well, the whole conversation kicked off and it ignited when he said, "I'm going to Disneyland." I said, "Why are you going to Disneyland? In this situation, why are you going there? Are you stupid? Are you misinformed? Do you just not care?"
I was like, "What do you mean? There's going to be nobody there. Everybody's scared. We're going to hop online." Like
I gave him the whole 5-minute spiel, trying to water it down a little bit so he understands. And then now he's like a believer all of a sudden. Like,
I'm on the fence. I'm newly transitioned into this, but I don't feel like I'm completely invested yet. And that's why I want to do this podcast, because maybe I'll change my mind a little bit.
Well,
because I talked to, honestly, after you messaged, or I talked to you, I messaged another friend about it, and he's like, "Dude, do your research. It's all just fake. It's actually not that bad." I'm like,
to me, it seems like it's divided, usually as it usually is, into like two different camps. There's, just as a disclosure, whatever I'm about to say, it's not 100%. Take it for what it is as a grain of salt. It's just my opinion and my thoughts. And a lot of what I read, it's not going to be based upon, CNN, NBC, Fox News, none of this mainstream media. I take my sources from third-party sources, which is much more, it's politicized, but they still tell you the truth, as much as you need to know. So the whole, for the sake of going around the whole key word here, we know what we're talking about. I'm going to call it the beer virus. Normally I'm a quiet guy, as you know. I like to stay in. I only come out here once in a while, and I do a lot of reading and studying about, economics, politics, whatever, and especially the beer virus.
We'll bleep that out.
Right. So
I don't think people understand. We're not saying that because we're afraid it's going to get monetized if we put this on YouTube.
We'll just refer to it as the virus from this point. So I was reading into this since December 2000, maybe even November 2019. And ever since the series of events started unfolding, I was on top of it more than any other story, more than the stock market or whatever's going on. It's already been a crazy year. But so if I'm to sort of draw the story here, what I read was, the whole, what do you call it? How they explained it was that it was an animal market, and they, I don't know how far you know, but it was from like eating bats or civets, like wild cats. Right. Well, that's why. Here's the other crazy thing. All these different governments, countries, political figures, they're all saying different things. The WHO, what is that? The World Health Organization, the CDC, Center for Disease Control and prevention in the U.S., China, you name it, everyone is saying a different thing, and everyone has a different opinion, which is why people just can't seem to figure out how to address this issue. So here's what I read. It started off at the wet, live animal market. Supposedly they ate bats or whatever wild animal they shouldn't be eating, and it cross-transmitted what's normally an animal disease into a human. Yeah. And I didn't buy the story for a second. I'm not anti-Chinese. I love Chinese people, but
He does.
When it comes down to the reality of politics, the CCP in China just works different. So usually they misinform, they mislead, and because they're communist, they're gonna say things to control and maintain a certain order. And what I read was, this is an article that came out in my news source, which is what I read, zerohedge.com. You guys can look into it later. But one of the articles I read was China is known to have a biological warfare program. They've been preparing this for a very long time now. I think it was around the time SARS broke out. And what happened was there are these research laboratories for medical purposes called BSL-4 labs, which is the highest tier level of clearance you can get to do research on, diseases, viruses, you name it. Anything that's hazardous to human health, they'll research it in these laboratories. And I think it's short for Biological Safety Laboratory, something like that. So they have this BSL-4 laboratory 20 miles south of the market, the Wuhan market, where it broke out. And what I read was in Canada, there is a lead female researcher. She was the head of the department in their BSL-4 lab in Canada, and she was in charge of doing virology research, and her husband is also in that BSL-4 lab. So what happened was, last year, around March 2019, she was submitting these samples and smuggling them over to China to provide it to the Chinese government. And she brought all sorts of samples that we do not have cures for. You name it. Ebola or whatever. Anything she can get her hands on, she was submitting these samples, and she was doing multiple trips back and forth to Wuhan, to this other BSL-4 lab. And, eventually they found out. She got fired along with her husband around mid last year, around July. So what do you think the CCP is going to do with this? They're going to weaponize it. So about 2 months ago, I think around January, I read another article came out. What this is, this can be untrue. This can be a conspiracy theory. I believe it because of how this virus is spreading. They're saying that this is a hybrid. This is a man-made disease, and it is a hybrid between HIV and also a form of SARS coronavirus. So, not to get too much into the medical aspect, but if you look at the, well, that's not pertaining to this, but let's just call it COVID. Well, whatever this viral structure is, it's like a ball, and it has little spikes. We'll call it spikes, which are proteins. And there's 3 different kind of proteins. I know for sure there's an S protein. The other 2 I don't recall. So let's just call it A protein and B protein. But the S protein is the critical protein that latches onto you and infects you. So what they found out was this S protein is very weak on the regular virus. So what they decided to do was take the shell of a HIV virus, and they inputted the RNA, DNA, whatever, the internal structure of the virus into the shell of the HIV. Now this is what you got, we're calling COVID-19. So here's why he's freaking out, and, I think it's perfectly fine that people think, it's just the flu or whatever. But if you look at the data, if you look at the analysis of how this has been progressing since the breakout in December, This is an abnormal pattern. Let's just say it started from one person who leaked it out of the lab in Wuhan, and we're here, 3-4 months later. That's not a normal pattern. That's not a normal infection rate. That's not a normal growth compared to a flu. Yes, I understand flus are seasonal, but it's nothing like this. So, I've been informing my family. I've been prepping for this since December. First thing I did the weekend, my parents, I do a lot of weird stuff. I'm more paranoid than normal people. I rushed over first thing in the morning as soon as I read that to Home Depot. I picked up, boxes of masks, N95. If you're going to wear a mask, you guys got to make sure they're rated at N95 or N100. They must be higher. All this other paper stuff and surgeon mask, it's better than nothing, but if you really want a functional mask that's going to prevent, viruses from spreading, you got to have something N95 or higher. So I picked these up, and I also ordered some N100 masks on eBay because I couldn't find it anywhere already in December 2019. If you go on Amazon, things were already selling out, and people already start to relist these things. If you go now, they're selling like packs of Clorox wipes for like $100, $200. You heard about the hand wipe, the hand sanitizers. Yeah. People are I brought you these masks. When I bought it, one pack of 20, a contractor's pack was around $15. One of these will run you $10, $15, $20, depending on who's selling it. And you're lucky to come across one.
And you find them on eBay. You won't get them
wherever
in stores.
you can find them. I don't know where
people
you
are
can find
slinging them out of their trunk.
It's crazy. But anyway,
So yeah. Okay, so I'm going to interrupt. I guess what people might be wondering is we're talking about the seriousness that people are clearly showing, right? Out on the internet and out on just word of mouth. We're hearing about things being bought up in stores, things disappearing, people panicking, right? But then amongst my close circle of friends and just close circle on the internet, nobody's panicking. Almost everybody is like, I heard it's not a big deal.
And that's where
right. So I'm like, what is actually going on?
That's where I think it ties in with what Andre said, mentality. Like, whatever you think, it's kind of like, I forgot who the famous person said, but if you think you can do it, and if you don't think you can do it, you won't. Mm-hmm. So it's just a mindset. I think Americans in general, we've grown complacent. And I don't think it helps that the CDC, the WHO, the president, everyone is trying to, this is my personal opinion, the world is trying to prioritize the economy and monetary issues above social responsibility, health, and working together honestly. Because at the end of the day, people thought this was just a China issue. But now we know it's not, because people acted too late. When they're announcing these state of emergencies in California and wherever, New York, and well, now it's across the whole country, in Washington too, but they should have been, in my opinion, they should have been issuing these warnings and preparing and stocking up. All the stuff they should have been doing as soon as they saw China breaking out. That's what I would have done.
But they know that the circumstance could have led to a quicker recession in our economy.
Right.
So instead of creating panic, they rather keep the economy functioning.
We're not... It's kind of like Western medicine versus Eastern medicine. What's Chinese medicine? Chinese medicine is preventative, right?
Yeah.
We take the medicines and then they boil it and they make that to prevent what you might possibly, what other ailment you might get. Western medicine is reactive. Oh, you need some injections? Okay, once you show the symptoms and you're already half dying, then we prescribe the medication. Then we say, oh, you're going to need this, you're going to need that. Then we got to wait for surgery. It's a reactive system. Not Asians, but Chinese medicine is much more preventative. So it's a cultural thing. It's a mindset thing. So this is where we're at. And I just saw the numbers today. The official numbers
according to these people. We're at over 108,000 infected cases, which I believe is a complete lie. I think China's cases are 10, 20, 30, easily 10, 20, 30 times beyond these
cases
The
you're
numbers.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. But I've also heard like a doctor say like, you know, it's a chance that, all right, for instance, say numbers, right? They're infected, but the way that the virus is latching on, because the one that's deadly is when it latches to the lungs.
Right.
Once it latches onto the lungs, you can pretty much say bye to whoever's about
Right.
to die, right? But for other people, common cold, they have a runny nose, they might get a fever,
Right.
they'll be fine. It's nothing. So it's really about right now. Let's say I have the corona. There you go.
Well,
I got you got it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
All right, so I got the beer virus, right? But I got it as a common cold. But I bite no sanitizer, I shake your hand, and then you bite your nails. So then it gets
we eat
into
your
you.
boogers.
Huh? What happened?
We eat your boogers.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
you
you do
eat,
that,
you eat my boogers, and then it's in your lungs somehow. And so you'll go, I won't. That's essentially like how they're saying it. So it's probably a bunch. The biggest thing is like how, one, preventative, right? This is America. I'm surprised more people aren't dying just because of how poor our diets are, including my own.
Absolutely.
Right? I'm horrible. I just had a burger before I got here
100%.
at a place, the place that I work at, which I won't say on podcast, but I go inside people's houses. I go inside restaurants on occasion, so I'll get to see kitchens sometimes in the state that they're in. You know, and I used to work in a restaurant too, and you used to work in a restaurant, so you kind of it's not the cleanest, most sanitary environment. There's workers who won't wash their hands. There's people who don't wash their hands. There's dishes that don't get washed well. There's water that doesn't really reach 140 degrees. You got a number of things that could have an effect on whether you get sick or not. And that's before this beer virus gets involved with it. You know what I mean? The biggest thing is that it's not like it's something that is for sure fatal, right? It made its way around. I don't know how much I know about Chinese immigrants being in Africa, right? But this virus has already made its way to Africa, but it's not having the same effect in Africa that it's having in any other part of the world. And of course, there has to be a reason for that. African culture, they don't use refrigerators. Their food is off top, just their culture has to be fresh like that same day. Mm-hmm. So they go to the market, shop, and then boom. It's not no preserved anything. That could be a contributing factor. Based on what he was saying about the shell of HIV and whatever, I don't know how exposed Africa is to HIV. I mean, it's Africa, so naturally I'm thinking it's overexposed. Maybe because it's Africa, that could play a contributing factor. The temperature, you know what I mean, could play a contributing. It could be a contributing factor. So it's a lot of things that it's obviously preventing them from getting from the virus spreading like it does everywhere else. But the biggest thing is the fact that, well, you can see there's a way to battle it, right? Which is how it is with anything. But the biggest thing is that there's already been someone who is called a doctor, but is not a doctor, passed away. His name is Dr. Sebi. I'm sure somebody's heard about him before. Y'all heard about Dr. Sebi before?
I might have.
Black dude from Honduras. He passed away. They think it's a conspiracy that he died. Nah. Well, anyway, he's one of those guys that even from he went to the he has a Supreme Court case that he won. That he won-ish, I should say. Because he went to court for false advertising because he went in a newspaper and said that he cured AIDS, cured HIV, cured other sicknesses that you're not technically supposed to be able to cure. I mean, y'all know what we're talking about here, right? And his whole thing was he got taken to court. He needed people to be witnesses. Okay, he cured it. Where's your people? They required 10. He came with like 400 or something like that. And my numbers I'm throwing around. It could have came with 100. But he came with way more than what they asked for is what I'm saying. All these people with medical records, right? Western medicine, so that type of record, showing, I had this and I don't now, under his care, you know what I mean? Ultimately, the court case, why I say he kind of won, is that he could no longer call his medicine. He had to call it like food or something like that. So it was, and that's all it was. The biggest thing is that he already said all sicknesses are the same thing, and ultimately there's a way to combat it. Absolutely. Which is kind of the Chinese way. It's just somewhat preventative, but basically it's through eating. How you eat and how you live, it has the biggest impact.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with that. And you're right. The American diet is compromising all of our immune systems. Obesity is, through the roof. We have a huge drug culture here. I'm sorry to say, but that's a huge issue. So I agree with you 100%. But to circle back, this is a totally new situation for the whole world. So I even read that this thing is so quickly mutating, and the doctor that I follow on one of the YouTube channels, he announces and makes updates every day. It's Peak Prosperity, and he's also a doctor, and he talks about what's going on, and he also agrees that there's different strains already circulating. So just because you contracted in China and you came over to Italy, which is number 3 in the highest amount of cases, he's saying that they might have a different mutated case. So now what I'm concerned about is, number 1, let's say we develop a vaccine successfully. In the next 6 to 12 months, let's say we got it in. Well, what if that might treat the original strain, but what if we have 5 different strains? What? Then you got to go back to the drawing board. I don't know if it would work or not, but this thing is just changing and moving day by day. And also on top of that, it's just, I don't believe what everyone's saying with the numbers, with the cases. Like you said, from what I understand, once it gets into your respiratory system, your body tries to fight it, obviously, with like your immune system, and it ends up flooding your lungs because it fills with fluid. Let's say you get healed or you recover, but the problem is, I also read that it stays in your system. When they were testing the people who were in quarantine from that Princess cruise ship from Japan, they brought them over, and I was freaking out about this because they're trying to bring them over into Ontario, California. That's my back doorstep, and it's down the block from you. They were trying to quarantine them there. I'm like, why are they bringing them there to like one of the most populated high-density areas? Thank God they took him over to Riverside Air Force Base, but then a second quarantine plane flew him over to San Diego. Now, initially, when they don't even know a damn thing about this virus, they're saying quarantine period, or incubation period, is 14 days. Well, a few weeks ago, they doubled it up. They said, you know what? Actually, we were wrong. It's actually 28 days. Okay, so you quarantine these people and you release them. Now you got hundreds of these people going around San Diego County, Orange County, LA County. Come on. Really?
And there could be amount of people infected.
Yeah.
And it's just dormant in them for the next 28 days, and they're going around infecting everybody.
I mean, that's why I'm telling people, wake up. You can't, when it comes to these kind of things, the government can only do so much, okay? You got to know how to think for yourself. The government is not going to always take care of you. It's not mommy and daddy. You got to know how to think on your own 2 feet. And believe me, this is my belief. They had the meeting last week. They had their testimony to get the budget approved by Trump. I think it's around $8.5 billion to fund, whatever, the medical kits and all this and that, the testing kits. They said they're going to have 1 million testing kits ready by the end of this week. I call bullshit. Because number 1, you got to understand the supply chain issue now. Because China is shut down economically. You check the maps, you check the stocks, you check the whatever the charts are showing, they're dead in the water. And you got to understand, China is the economic engine of the world, whether you like it or not. So where do we source and manufacture most of our medical supplies? From China. Where else? India, and also Germany. But what's going on over there? They're also having their own contagion situation, epidemic in their own country. So now over 90% of these APIs, which is active pharmaceutical ingredients, we need to import them to even start manufacturing something. Well, if you can't get your hands on any APIs, we're shit out of luck too. India says we're keeping it. China says we can't make it. And if we can make it, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't send it over to us because they need it. Germany, same thing too. They have like the 4th or 5th largest case of breakout. So what the fuck are we going to do now?
There's no way to treat it. It's going to spread.
Yeah. So I'm guaranteeing this. In the coming weeks, you're gonna see, like I always say, this is not linear. This does not go 1 + 1 + 2 + 3. So this thing goes parabolic. It's not linear. It's gonna go 1 to 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. You know, it goes through the roof. And I'm gonna bet we're gonna see cases, if they're honest. Well, that's only if our government is honest. We're gonna see it start going 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 6,000. South Korea right now is at over 7,000. They started with one lady who did not go to China, but she got in contact with somebody else from Wuhan, and she is part of a cult church in Korea. I don't know if you guys know. Yeah. So this Korean church, I'm Korean. I've never been there, so don't worry. This church is called Shincheonji. It's a cult church. She was one lady in her 50s or 60s. She went to church and she infected the whole church. Not only that, she infected...
It takes one person to infect an entire church in a day?
Absolutely. Not in a day, in a few days, within a week. The record went up to 1,000. Now, it
took 1 week for one person to
one
infect
person to
3,000,
hit 1,000, 1,000, 2,000. So there's a hospital, a mental ward next door. That whole hospital got infected too. And
obviously came in contact with
right. So now this is what I'm scared about. This is what I'm scared of. I'm a believer. I'm a Christian. So I mean, God forbid this doesn't happen, but I have a hunch this might. If there are ill-willed people who know that they're infected, they will go to large gatherings, including churches, because this particular cult penetrates other churches in their beliefs and compromises their whole church in a religious aspect. Now, if we're taking into account a infectious virus, why wouldn't they do that? They would, go visit. So I'm saying that's why, personally, my family, I told them we're all on lockdown. I stored food, water, whatever, toilet paper, whatever you need. My family's good to go.
You had them close down their business.
I had them close down their business this week. This is an honest conversation I had.
That's crazy.
I pulled out money.
He convinced his family to...
No, I didn't convince. I'm Chinese at this point. I sat down. I had a family meeting. I said, listen, tell me what you guys are going to do, okay? This was last week. They went to church. I've been telling them for 2 months, don't go to church. They still went. So this is what I did. I sat down. I looked my parents in the face. I said, listen, just be honest with me. If you're going to go to church starting next week, and if you're going to start going to work next week, which is this weekend, I said, I'm out. I saved up some cash. I'm disappearing for 2-3 months. Don't look for me. Don't ask me. I'm gone. Because I have a 90-year-old grandma that I live with. She's the most precious thing to me. If she catches that, it's guaranteed death for her. Okay? And this, yeah. And if this virus, it's not discriminate to race or age. Doesn't matter if you're a baby, if you're 90. It does the same shit to everyone. Okay? Across the board. So that's what I told them.
A lot of people think it only affects older people.
I mean, okay. If you have a healthy diet, as you mentioned, if you exercise, and you take your vitamin C's, D's, your probiotics, and you have a healthy immune system, sure. Let's have the argument that you have a much higher reduced case of probability of getting infected and dying.
Of not dying.
Right. Yeah, of not dying. But, as he mentioned, great point.
You're still infectious, though.
You're infectious. Yeah. So, it's just better to be safe than sorry. I mean, if you want to take the risk and go out there and do your thing, live your life, and spread it, be unaware, be ignorant, and say, oh, I'm okay. I mean, do you, boo-boo. I'm not here to say, be your parent. But I'm just saying, why wouldn't you, if you have a good head on your shoulders, want to be on the safer side, prepare, be knowledgeable about what's going on out there?
Because people have lives they want to live.
Right,
still.
Absolutely. And I understand that. That's why even the senators and the people who are proposing these bills are saying we can't afford to close some of these schools and these businesses and these companies, because you got to understand, and now we're going into economics, I think it's over 2/3 of America lives paycheck to paycheck. Yeah. Think about that. Over 2/3, that's 66% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. I'm one of them. So I understand you can't not go to work. And America is one of the most highly developed countries, but they rank the worst in paid sick leave. You know, we're pretty much modern day slaves. We have to work. We have no choice.
But the repercussions of
Right.
ignoring it and continuing on.
Right.
Is,
So that's
is
why
gonna
I
end
mentioned.
in the same
That's why I
result,
mentioned.
right?
Are you going to prioritize the financial situation, or are you going to prioritize your family and your own health? Because even the children, they said that these kids in low-income families and low-income school districts cannot afford to close down because this is the only meal they get in the day. Their school lunches and their snacks, that's the only thing they get to eat. When they get home, they starve. And believe me, downtown LA, I work in the heart of downtown LA. There is a huge homeless issue, and it's not exclusive to downtown LA. It's across the world. Amsterdam, Seattle, Washington, New York. I mean, they might address it a little different, but we have a huge issue, not just in terms of viruses, but the whole economic situation. And people were asking me to post a video about, you know, the geopolitics and the economics. If you follow the stock market, the past 2 weeks, it has parabolically crashed. Historical records. We lost over 3,000 points each week on the Dow and the S&P. Because I followed. I graduated with a business and finance degree. I love the stock market and anything related to money and business. I'm on it. I've been telling my friends and family since 2016 we are due for a recession, if not a depression. You got to understand the implications and the after effects of 2008 financial crisis. Are you aware? Yeah. We did that in 2008. That's what? 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. We never fixed it. We put a Band-Aid on it. Okay? The whole crux of the issue back then in 2008 was we gave the government allowed the banks, JP Morgan Chase, whatever, WAMU, whatever. The government allowed the banks, eased up the policies to make loans to people who cannot afford them. I don't know if you guys remember back then, we were a little younger. They're called ninja loans. No income, no job, no problem. Okay? So there's these people, if you watch The Big Short, there's these people taking out loans to buy houses they cannot afford. They're buying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them in their own name. Now what's going to happen? Would you lend me $100 right now if you knew I'm going to go do something stupid with that money and I'm not going to pay you back? If you knew that, would you lend me $100?
You weren't going to pay me back?
Yeah, if you
Fuck
knew.
no, dude.
So why the fuck would the government do that to the whole population of the American
Maybe
country?
they thought it was going to generate something like fluff
It
up.
wasn't
fluff
just
up
it wasn't just the government too, bro. People were doing, I hate to say it like this, but especially like Chase was doing flat out illegal shit. They were lying. So it wasn't just the government being lenient, which they were. It was a combination of the government being lenient with banks because everything was fucking great and everything was at its peak and no one cared. On top of the fact that banks were flat out lying.
Yep.
They were saying that that's another thing. The Big Short kind of showed it really good. When everything was shit. Remember, I don't know his name in the movie, but you know the guy who's Batman, Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Right? His character was already like, oh, based on my calculation, we should already be shorting. The Big Short is shorting it's basically like a future. Like it's like when it's you buy something saying that it's gonna be a certain value, and if it changes up or down, you can gain money
You're
on
making a
one or
bet
the other side.
in a direction.
So if you bet on that it's going to go down, you'll short it and get a shitload of money. Mm-hmm. So that's what he was doing. But if you're shorting hoping it goes down and everything is saying it's going up, right? The people whose money you're doing this with, which is what he was doing with other people's money, are freaking out. Bro, you're losing our fucking money, right? But he already knew this is impossible. It shouldn't even be going up anymore. I know it shouldn't be. I got all the numbers.
Right.
Why is it still going up? That's when they found out the illegal shit that was happening.
Right.
Oh, they're lying.
Yep.
They're lying saying that everything is cool, and it's actually not. But these are the bankers, not the government lying.
Right.
These are the bankers
Yep.
lying.
I mean, they're all connected. You know, politicians, bankers, they're all working together. You can't do this. In this country, you can't run things by yourself. It's a teamwork thing,
But you shouldn't
okay?
do it without money.
This
Right.
podcast.
Right.
That's why it's a circle like that.
It was all corrupt.
I just feel like this podcast is getting.
Well, we
I
got to
just
get
don't
into
wa-
it
Well,
because
we
my
can't-
viewers
I'm
wanted
down.
to hear the whole
I just
whole
feel like it's
story,
gonna. I
you
don't
know?
want it to get
This
torn
is
down
my-
or
this
have
is
some
my-
dudes
no,
in suits
This
knocking
is my
on my
first
door.
and my last.
I'm surprised you're that paranoid.
Yeah. So
I don't know why. I'm thinking. Fuck.
No, man, we got to put this out for the record. It was
It's
all
not like-
corrupt. It was all manipulated. It is what it is. It crashed, okay? Let's say it crashed. But now, the after effects, what happened? The Dow and the S&P got cut by 50%, let's say, right? Now we have, because naturally we have a cycle in the economy. We have good days, we have bad days. We have booms, we have busts. That is a healthy economy. Leave it alone. Every time a government steps in, it fucks everything up. What did Richard Nixon do in 1971? He took America off of the gold standard, okay? Now, as I said, I'm a believer. I believe gold and silver is real money, along with most old school people. Not the Bitcoin herd, not this, modern millennial generation bullshit. I mean, I'm part of the millennials, but I believe for sound money and economic policy, gold and silver is the pillar ever since the days of Abraham. My name's Abraham. If you read the Bible, they were transacted in silver and gold. If you know Jesus, he was betrayed by Judas. What did he get paid? 30 shekels of silver. What did King Solomon do? He was the wealthiest and the wisest king in all of history. He received talents of gold and silver. He had so much silver, he had no idea what to do with it. It was worthless, it says in the Bible. Okay? This is how far we've come. When the Federal Reserve was created in the 1920s, after the Great Depression, or around that time period, everything went to shit. That was the day the nail was already laid in the coffin. Because then they introduced fiat money. And you got to understand, the Federal Reserve, I don't know if you guys know, the Federal Reserve is the one that's responsible for our monetary supply and policy. They control the money of the U.S. And in turn, it controls the money of the world. The whole world operates around the U.S. We are the world's superpower as of today. Now, do I think 5-10 years into the future that will still be the case? No, absolutely not. We have been losing influence. We have been losing reserve currency status through the petrodollar. Everything is falling apart right now, as you see across the world. The Middle East, Southeast Asia, between Russia, China, the BRICS, the emerging markets. It's going exactly as the Bible's saying. Nation will rise against nation. Kings will rise against kings. There's famines. I don't know if you heard about the locust swarm that went through Africa, wiped out all the crops, went through Middle East. Now it's in China. Now they deployed the herds of ducks to go consume all these locusts. We got earthquakes. We got fires. Look at Australia. That place has been on fire for the past 5 months. It's all over. This is going crazy. But now, why do I say all this? It's not to be dramatic, and it's not for the likes, and it's not for the attention. I'm trying to wake up the general people to really look into things. Don't just be on your iPhone and your Instagram 24/7 and looking at these girls with nice tits and ass. I agree, it's nice, but you gotta look into these things and really think about it. Not just surface, shallow level. Connect the dots. I've been doing this since I was 16 years old. That's why I can sit here and explain with a level head, connecting the dots for a lot of people who say, I don't understand, so please explain. That's why I'm coming out and pulling all the stops right now. Because I'm trying to connect the dots for people.
I think you kind of explained it all. Maybe some final thoughts. I just really want to say quick. I know I didn't say much because I was here to honestly just listen, but I want to say that the reason I did this and wanted to put this together, even though I know my followers are all here for photography, I'm putting this out no matter what, and I feel like it's literally my moral obligation to, right? I felt like, is this out of place? But then, fuck it. This is something that's on my mind, and I care, and I want people to care too, because it in the long run helps
Absolutely.
me. It helps. It determines whether I'm going to get infected or whether my parents are going to die from this shit.
We're all responsible.
Right? So I want to put this out there and tell you guys, like, maybe you should start caring or thinking about caring, or figure it out. That's all I have to say.
And just to close for the final few minutes, I just want to finish that idea. I would advise people, save your money, budget, and prepare, because we are long overdue for another recession, depression. The signals, everything's are showing and lining up. It's a perfect storm, guys. This is not just a virus. The whole world's shutting down right now. The markets are crashing. It's melting down. This is because the Fed was printing all this money. It's called quantitative easing. QE1, 2, 3, 4. That's how we got here. That's how we lived so well for the past 12 years since 2008, because they never fixed the problem. They printed money and they just paid everything off. That's why it was okay. But now, as our parents or our, the wiser people like to say, what goes up must come down. And this is the moment where everything's going to come down crashing. So I would advise, be responsible, budget, because for the people that don't know and that's been asking me, shit is going to hit the fan real quick. Not just medically, economically, financially. I think we might even start entertaining ideas of war.
Well, we are at war now.
Yeah, we are, but not there's different wars. There's economic wars, financial wars, but now I'm saying the actual war we're thinking about.
A civil war?
Civil and international war. But we are at war. We've been at war, and that's a whole nother discussion. I think that we'll save that for episode 2. Yeah, that's just how we operate. The military-industrial complex.
He's talking about a war that actually may affect us here at home.
I'm talking about this. This is the war that's going to seal the deal, right? Russia's got nukes. We got nukes. This is going to be. This is the 21st century. We're not going to do the way we did in the 40s. This is going to be.
Let's not freak out my listeners.
Okay.
Let's just,
we'll save
just
that
think
for
about
another
yourself,
episode.
Be responsible. Be an individual. And help. Be there for your friends
saying,
and family.
I'm just saying, be responsible to your family and your friends, and save your money, because I'm telling you, economically, this is not going to go well for anyone. Right. We're going to see a lot more homeless people. We're going to see a lot of stuff falling apart. That's all I'm saying.
Right. So, do you think we should pull our money out of the banks and just have cash?
Well, this is a whole nother. Okay. Well, since you asked, I'm going to address that. What you got to understand is the Federal Reserve also sets the interest rates. Okay. 2 weeks ago, they dropped the interest rates another 0.5%, which is 50 basis points. That has never happened since the financial crisis of 2008. Just to shorten things up in layman terms, the day the U.S. goes to a 0% interest rate policy, the whole world's financial system will implode. Because you got to understand, the Eurozone, the European countries, they're all on the euro. They're all connected as one currency. Yeah. They've been in negative interest rates for like the past 5 years. And they are all falling apart right now, one by one, like dominoes. Italy's been so deep in debt, their oldest bank shut down. Or they're bankrupt. Everyone's bankrupt. HSBC, all these banks and financial institutions. Same thing with Hong Kong when they were doing the riots. You got to understand, Hong Kong is the monetary system and connection from the west to the east. They're the money launderers. They're the ones that move the money out of China into America and vice versa. All the banks left Hong Kong after they started doing the riots because they can't operate. Okay? This whole thing is crumbling apart. So you guys got to keep an eye on this. We're very, very, very close. The day that we go to 0%, you might have to pull your money out of the bank. Here's why. Because
wouldn't it be smarter to do it now before everybody's doing it?
If you're smarter, you would do it now. But then there's a risk now because you have to hold the cash somewhere, right? So timing's important. But here's the thing. When we go from 0 to negative, what's going to happen is you're going to have to start paying the bank to hold your money. Remember 10, 15, 20 years ago, you said you're 28? I don't know if you remember. Maybe your mom and dad was talking about CDs, certificate of deposits, fixed income securities, all these nice little things where, honey, save your money. We're going to put a nice little CD for you. So when you grow up, it's going to grow and you're going to have a little nest egg of money. Well, that shit's been long gone. You walked into the bank today, what are they going to say? Maybe you might get like a 0.25% if you're lucky. That doesn't even keep up with inflation. Inflation's over 2%. So you're losing money just putting your money in the bank right now. Okay? But once it goes negative, you got to start paying out of pocket to keep your money in the bank. Now remember, our US dollar has lost over 97% of its value from the day it started. Okay? Because we've been printing so much money. That's inflation. The more supply you have, the more worthless it becomes. Why do you think McDonald's, when they first opened in the, 40s, 50s, how much was a cheeseburger or a hamburger?
39 cents.
39 cents? Maybe it was a nickel, for what I believe.
Yeah.
Way back then. Way back,
yeah.
I believe it was a nickel or 10 cents.
Yeah.
Right?
It was really cheap.
39 cents back in the 70s or 80s probably. Now what is it? A motherfucking hamburger cheeseburger is like $1.50.
Yeah, if you're getting the most basic one.
Absolutely.
And it's still.
And we don't eat like that, Chief. We like the works.
Yeah,
we like everything on it. So
And I bet you they were a little bit more filling
Right.
back then too.
Well, they were actual.
It was
natural.
real meat too.
Yeah, that's the
we ain't
biggest
putting
part.
under this
Now
money
it's just
business.
They're
You
cheaper
know.
now. I mean, granted, now they have the 100% beef quarter pounders,
Right.
but that doesn't talk about the regular
of those
ass
can you eat?
cheeseburger, the kids
So-
meal.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I can go on and on for centuries, guys. I mean, if you want to save it for another time, I'm more than happy to join. But you know, just wrapping up, and if you have other thoughts, you want
yeah,
to I'll hand it over to you.
My thoughts don't change at all,
Yeah.
bro. So one thing I'll say for sure, taking your money out the bank, I would first off, a lot of people say this. Grant Cardone says this. People that I invest with say the same thing.
Mhm.
Your money should have never really been in a bank anyway. If you could save your money in the bank,
There you go.
but ultimately you have to save
gotta
your
put it to
money to
work.
invest. Thank you. If you have your money sitting up, which is a whole nother topic, but if your money's sitting like a stone, it's gonna be worth a stone.
Yep.
Right? So money's worthless unless it's working. So with that being said, if you pull your money out the bank, that's fine. But it's actually worth less out of the bank, uninsured, than it is in the bank. And then the second part is that if it was sitting in the bank, it's also still not worth shit because it should have been doing something else. That's the whole
Right.
point of investing.
Right.
So that's where the people who win in this situation are poor people. The people, ironically, right? I say that because I grew up poor. I know what it's like
Same
to go
thing.
to school
Same boat.
and eat off the lunch ticket and you only eat one time. And you'll be surprised that now you can go look up OMAD online, 1 meal a day. Those 1 meal a day guys are one of the healthiest fucking people on earth. Outside of them, it's vegans, right? Because of it gets too detailed. It basically has to do with like your digestive tract. But long story short, these people who are eating only once, who are fasting, or who are eating vegan, are the healthiest people.
100%.
These people aren't dying.
Yep.
You'll see poor people survive this and also not care.
Mhm.
When the shit happened in 2008, people was jumping off buildings, committing suicide, shooting wife, kids, driving to the river.
Yep.
Right? Who wasn't? Poor ass black people, poor ass Mexicans. No, poor people don't give a fuck.
Makes
bro.
no difference to them.
Yeah, exactly. So these are the people who are going to survive this regardless. The people who are really concerned are the people who want to go to
Have
Disneyland.
something to lose.
Yeah, so I'm telling people, the people who are not probably going to even listen to this, but ultimately, what you're worried about is nothing to really be concerned about. You're going to survive this just like when Y2K happened, just like when every other fucking thing happened. Just like when there's been multiple times, even when we talk about the Bible, and I've had this conversation with friends of mine, podcast group that I'm a part of, where we talked about, I should shameless plug real fast, the average American males.
It's a good podcast. I was actually on it. If you guys
I better
look for
check
my
it out.
episode,
Johnny was
yeah.
a guest.
All
We
right.
usually talk about heat and stuff.
All right.
One of my friends is godless, so you'll love him.
Hey, I love all people. All
So you guys should have
discussions, all
Abe
people.
on your podcast.
Yeah, we should have definitely
Yeah,
so
right.
educated.
I would love to.
But ultimately, bro, I talked to them about this, and I said this before. I personally, and I'm a believer too. Personally, I believe already a lot of the things that is already that are in the Bible, as far as how do I say this? As far as the things that are supposed to be like plagues, have came and passed already. Global warming before the internet has came and passed already. The Earth is so old that we can't fathom the age of Earth. So to say that these things are going to happen, kings are going to rise and fall, nations are going to, bro, this already happened. This has been happening. This is a cycle. It's all about cycles. It doesn't end. Ultimately, what you decide to do in like the next step you take after this podcast is for the people that are listening. After you take your headphones off or get out your car, the next thing you do is really gonna be the biggest thing you do, and ultimately is how do you survive this next thing? Are you gonna live and enjoy yourself? Are you gonna hide and really preserve your genes, right? Make sure that you can actually come out of this. You might be the last man alive. It could be one of those things where the world's going to shit. But ultimately, how much control do you have over even your own life? Fuck how we're gonna handle a virus.
Right.
How much control do you have even over your own day? How much control do you have over someone coming up to you and shooting you in the fucking head? You don't have control over that. You do have control over like stuff that you do personally, but not of your environment, unless you stay in a house or get away. And even then, you still don't have control over the world. Meteor comes out the sky, it's fucking crazy, right? No one's ever gonna expect a meteor to come out the sky, blow up your house, but it's possible. Probability is probably
one of
super
our
slim.
houses.
right? But it's just the fact that anything can happen. A little kid can set your house on fire. You could die inside the house. I'm just not going to choose to live like that. Ultimately, I have enough belief and enough knowledge to know how to fight sicknesses, right? I fought sicknesses. This is not from like me reading someone else's book or whatever. I just literally fasted through sicknesses and was like, oh shit, I didn't get sick. Came in contact with someone who had the flu. Came in contact with someone who had the common cold. Did not get sick at all. Felt the symptoms, went away. And it was really like, damn, I can't believe that happened. I'm surprised. Literally, it happened. I wasn't purposely trying to like come in contact with sick people. It just happened more than once. And then I didn't get sick and it threw me off. So I ultimately came to the conclusion from my own accidental experience for myself, how to fight sicknesses. And then I have my own knowledge. You know what I mean? Ultimately, the biggest thing is if you really don't want to get sick, do your research. Every season the flu comes around, right? Flu got more bodies than everybody. The flu is the real Nazis out here. Flu's killing everybody left and right, and that's just it. And I don't get vaccinations either. And I'm not going to. I don't fuck with vaccines. I don't trust the government enough or doctors enough to get vaccines. I just been black my whole life, bro. It's a lot of shit I don't trust, especially when it comes to Western medicine because it's about money. And a lot of this, basically, you listen to Abraham, you can see he's educated. A lot of this is about money. I don't think
Everything.
exactly, well, especially when it comes to America. But
Right.
we're talking about a virus that started in China, which is the world's largest distributor, which has the world's largest population, right? And I mean, just this is a little like maybe a little it's a little racist. It's a little bit racist.
Johnny says it's
But
okay. So
we're talking about the biggest tourists.
Go ahead, let's hear it.
The biggest tourists, bro. No matter what
sorry?
country, the biggest tourists.
That's fine.
Yeah, well, I wasn't gonna say like people eat cat or no shit like that, bro. Damn, I'm just talking about fucking like travelers. You go anywhere, bro. Chinese people fucking travel.
Yeah.
Right. That's what they do. So
Yeah.
it's just what it is.
All
Chinese
right.
people Johnny's going to Disneyland no matter what the
It's
fuck
fact.
happens.
You're right.
But this is all right. So the fact that this, I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but we're talking about connecting dots. I'm not an idiot. If I'm looking at something that started in China and is spreading from China, I don't think that's by coincidence. But I also don't think it's gonna keep my black ass in the house either. I'm getting the fuck out. I just know I wash my hands. Just normal. You should be doing this even if there wasn't a virus going around.
True.
Wash your motherfucking hands. Wash your ass. And stay to yourself and mind your business.
Amen.
And you should be fine.
Okay, let's
But you
talk
see-
about these preventative things real quick,
Oh, yeah,
Abe.
go ahead.
What do you think about gloves?
Like
Latex
you said,
gloves?
I bought gloves, I bought masks, and I also bought goggles because there's steps to this. If it gets real serious and you like
Put the gloves
people are
on.
doing now, they're going out to look for things. It's too late, So definitely wash your hands. I mean, you're not always going to have gloves, and make sure if you do get sanitizer, it's antiviral because antibacterial it might help, but it won't really do much for the virus. So.
I feel like that's a cool tip for our listeners because everybody's probably buying the wrong.
Yeah, I don't
wrong
know. I heard
sanitizer.
that Texas, they're googling. There's like a huge spike in Google searches about if you can use vodka as a hand sanitizer or something. Don't waste your money on that, man. Drink the vodka. Do something else. You guys go out and get some Clorox bleach. Okay, believe me, this is what I did. I'm not a hitman, but when I watch the movies, they buy bleach. Why? Because it disinfects and kills everything. Okay, so you just dilute some, bleach, take some of that, you can clean some of it, just dilute it in some water. You clean everything with that. Even fruits and vegetables, you put a little bit, and even if worse comes worse, you run out of drinking water, you put a few drops of bleach, you can drink that shit. You're good. So,
You said something to me about duct tape. He's like, yeah, you got to get
well,
this, and duct tape.
Duct
I'm
tape
like,
is like the real Fallout apocalyptic situation where you got to handle like dead corpses or something, or you got to really have, let's say you don't have a full-on biohazard suit, then you gotta makeshift something. So you gotta get long sleeve stuff. You gotta tape around your ankles and your wrists with gloves on. That's a makeshift situation. But God forbid it doesn't get to that point. But definitely wash your hands, hand sanitizer, mask, N95 or N100. Okay, I mean whatever you can get. Don't believe the government, guys. I cannot believe the General Surgeon of America came out and said, stop buying and hoarding masks because it doesn't work for you. What kind of bullshit is that? Okay, we need it in our hospitals, so you guys stop buying it. Come on.
So if I were to meld both of your perspectives, continue to live your life. Don't trap yourself in your house.
Right.
for the sake.
I mean,
of,
we got
for
polar
this-
opposites
right?
here. So.
No, I know it's polar opposite, but for the sake of your own sanity and maybe you're financially you can't afford to just stay at home. So go out, but then also take preventative measures.
Very good preventative
Well,
measures.
yeah, that's the truth is,
And that'll
that-
work
that
more than
middle-
anything. Yeah.
that middle is the goal.
Right.
Ultimately, live your life, right? Don't be a dumbass.
Mhm.
Wash your fucking hands. I wash my hands. I use sanitizer when I get in the car.
You're a bit of a clean freak, I know.
I wouldn't even go that far, bro. I wouldn't go as far as to say I'm a clean freak. And I tend my work, I tend to get dirty, and it just is what it is. But I'm also intelligent. I just
Right.
know to wash my fucking hands.
Right.
People are gross. I've seen people be gross in
Mhm.
front of me or even trying to hide it.
Man, I see so much piss and shit in the streets of LA every single
Oh,
day.
you're in downtown. It's bro. I mean, this is before. That's
why I'm worried.
I forgot. It wasn't. What was it downtown, bro? It's like similar to the Black Plague. In downtown.
Bubonic plague?
Yeah, but it was. It's a name.
The person who's in charge of the homeless that midnight mission thing, he got infected with like MRSA and like 2 other things, hepatitis A and B.
No, but there's another one, bro.
I think it was like
only
bubonic
in
plague
It was
in the rats.
It was, but the name it wasn't the bubonic plague, but it's the Black Plague. It's just they had a different name for it, but that shit
I
was in
heard they
downtown.
tested the sidewalk in downtown LA
Yeah.
and it tested
They
for
have
But it was in
really
rats, so
they
ancient
can spray it
diseases.
down.
Yeah,
spreading,
that are rising back up because of homelessness.
And
that comes from
imagine
fecal
one of them contract the virus.
matter. Oh, yeah,
It's game over.
Yeah, it was. Just fuck. I mean, it is
It's
for
game
downtown.
over.
But I don't fuck with downtown anyway. People know this about me. I also don't like crowded shit. Just in
I
general.
was gonna say, go out, hang with your friends, but maybe be a little careful if you plan on going.
Well,
I
this
would
is the
be-
other thing too, bro.
Should I still go to
Watch
Disneyland?
watch what you're
fucking-
eating at this time of the year, right? It's colder, right? Everybody's eating a lot of sugar, pretty much, right? People are eating cakes. People are eating a lot of bread, so that's basically sugar. Everything that turns into sugar, sugar basically
Destroys
it says fuck you to your immune system,
Mhm.
and that's one of the reasons why the flu is seasonal. It's not because the flu just walks around the earth, it comes back around your town at this time of the year. It happens because of the temperature change, and then people are getting less exposure to the sun because there's less sun out.
I didn't
Right.
think about that.
So it's a lot of shit. The sun has a lot to do with
I don't know about
your
the,
horm-
the
this is
temperature
facts, bro.
controlling how much sugar we eat.
no,
Oh,
but
yeah.
then sugar compromises your immune system greatly.
So we're already eating a lot of sugar throughout.
This is just what it
Everything's
well, seasonal,
compounding
like,
on top of
you
each
think
other.
about like, all right, Thanksgiving, winter, though that around that time, people are eating cakes, people are eating fucking pies. It's Thanksgiving. There's a lot of sweets around. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people like
Yeah.
my Filipino friend, her mom makes all these fucking amazing ass
Limpia.
baked goods. They're so good, bro. We said what?
Limpia.
What is that?
You don't know limpia? They're
Limpia?
like little tiny pork egg rolls.
Nah.
You know what I'm talking
Why
about?
a Hispanic voice going on? What are you
Yeah, I don't know what. I don't think that was his
Limpia?
Hispanic voice.
What's
What's
not
that?
Hispanic?
It was
That's
Hispanic.
my best Filipino.
That was your. Yeah, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't
I
that
think
bad.
that was
Most of my
Olympia in
friends
your
are-
pants.
Most of my friends are Filipinos. so-
Okay. Well, you know,
Anyway.
shout out to the Philippines. but-
Anyways, everybody, go out, take some photos, okay? Photography's awesome. Let's end it on that note.
Let's
Okay,
go.
we're an hour in.
All right.
Go out
Next
there,
time.
take your photos, take your preemptive measures, right? And wear your masks. But go out and take photos still,
Take
okay?
your pictures.
I love seeing everybody's
There you go.
photos.
And I'll be
It's
saying
just-
this.
Yeah, take your photos inside too. Shoot from a window if you can.
Shoot from a bubble.
Yeah, yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
All
Snipe
right.
people, long lenses.
Time to
everybody.
come out with the 100 millimeters.
Yeah, baby.
Oh
Those
shit.
fucking you would none of that telephoto shit. Or is that
Alright.
no telephoto is the long lens, right?
Yeah.
You don't want
Isn't
the
it?
macro. Throw the
Macros are
macro
small.
lenses away.
Yeah.
Throw your macro lenses away because that's not gonna work in this world right now. Good.
All
You want
righty.
those long, those
Motherfucking
long.
Johnny Lou. Johnny, what's the name of your podcast? We naming it on the spot?
I guess I could tell
Motherfucking
everybody
Johnny
my.
Lou.
This isn't my podcast yet, but the podcast I am putting together, I'm calling it Creature of Habit. If anybody has
Alright.
listened this far, they get this little special treat at the end. I'm calling it Creature of Habit. And
Nice.
It's
This
gonna be,
is fucking
it's
great.
gonna be everything. It's gonna be some photography, mostly art, mostly creative, the creative world. You know,
Well, they get a little bit of
dealing with
music,
that.
Johnny? We get a little music, Johnny?
But if we end up talking about the virus for an hour, fuck it.
All
You
right.
know?
Well, thanks for having me on. I
A little bit of
appreciate it.
music, yeah, a little bit of
Okay.
music, yeah.
You're
You're
genius,
welcome.
by the way. People don't. I'm just gonna drop this in there. People don't understand it. If Johnny today started making doors, he would be, in 3 months. He's the best door maker.
I'd be a master.
Not. And I mean,
master
it's not that I
door
like you so much to just praise you. It's just I've seen you do this more than
A
once.
physical door?
A physical door.
Yeah, you
if Johnny
fucking
decided to make shoestrings
You don't think I
today,
could do it?
in 3 months, he's a shoestring master. You know how long it takes to perfect like making udon?
Yeah.
If he started today, 3 months.
Master.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to music, I believe it.
But
Hold on.
look at his photography.
You don't think I can be a master
Oh,
door
photography
craftsman?
I mean, you can.
You know
I
he
mean,
didn't do photography.
Hey, you
at
want to
first.
be like Jesus? Be my guest. More power to you.
I can be a hell of a carpenter. Guess what I'm doing right now, guys? I'm working on a
Ah.
fucking car.
Working on
I'm
a
learning
car.
how to
You're a
do.
mechanic.
I'm learning how to fucking deal with that shit.
3 months
It's
from now,
difficult,
he has
but
a
I love
fucking
it.
he's gonna have a Ferrari that he's built from the ground.
All right.
From
I'm
a shell.
into it.
I like it sounds crazy until he's fucking I promise you, the first car he's working on ever, it's an old Benz. 3 months from now, he's working on a fucking Tesla that he's getting from spare parts with that black dude from
I might continue to just work on Benzes.
but then he's gonna have the fucking Goldwing in like 3
Oh
months.
my god. That's
I'm telling you, it sounds crazy.
Anyways, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I know where you're
watch.
going with this
Listen.
AMF.
All right.
Go ahead.
But I know what you mean, and it's I appreciate you saying that about me.
well,
I'm a
sorry,
little
true.
bit of a freak about stuff.
A little bit.
Yeah.
All
But,
right. Well,
yeah.
thanks for having me on, guys.
You're welcome. Let's cut it.
Pleasure meeting
Thank you
too.
guys for listening.
All right.